The self-love component, the self-love part of our lives is devastating if it doesn't exist. If we don't love ourselves, our lives are never going to be fully abundant. They're never going to be aligned. They're never going to be fulfilling because we don't inherently think we deserve to have that. How much do you love yourself? I'm serious. How much do you love yourself? Is there room to improve? If you learn to love yourself fully, everything in your life is going to improve. Everything will get better. How do I know that? Because my journey has been one from self-hatred to self-love. My name is Matt Gerlach. Welcome to Matters of the Mind, Rise to Your Worth. I am your host, and I am so happy you're here with me today. I work with high-performing entrepreneurs and executives who are suffering from burnout, loneliness, anxiety, sometimes even shame, create lives that they are absolutely in love with. I help you find alignment, fulfillment, learn who you authentically are, and create your business, create your professional life to be one that you find incredibly fulfilling. Thank you for being here today with me. These past few episodes, I've been sharing a lot about my journey through learning that I had a traumatic childhood that was holding me back from living a life that was fulfilling. It's the reason I became a transformative high-performance growth coach. I work with people just like me who were just pushing and white-knuckling through life, but something felt like it was wrong. Something felt like it was missing still. On the outside, we look good. When I was at the depths of my despair, I looked better than ever. I was skinnier than ever because I wasn't eating very much. I was traveling all over the world. I was making a lot of money, more money than I'd ever made because I was just pushing myself. I thought money was going to fix my problems. But as I learned, the problems were within. I didn't love myself. And it was because, if you've been listening to these past few episodes, because I had a traumatic childhood. At home, there was a lot that happened. There was a lot of overwhelm. There was a lot of anger. There was a lot that happened that left me feeling like I was unlovable. At school, I was abandoned by my friends because I'm gay, and I kept it inside. And I never told anybody about any of this. I went on until I was in my 30s. I had just been on this people-pleasing, not setting boundaries. The last episode I just did was all about boundary setting. And I just kept pushing myself, ignoring what I needed and ignoring that there was a substantial hole in my heart. I was not taking care of myself and I was not prioritizing myself. And it was because deep down, I thought something was wrong with me. All the while, I had all of this incredible business success. I was doing so well professionally. I had changed my careers at this point 5 times, and I had immediately risen to the top of all of these career choices I'd taken. I had made more money than most people in the world, and none of that stuff matters if underneath we don't love ourselves. Today, I want to teach how I went from this place where I had no love for myself. I thought something was wrong with me to where today I love myself quite a lot. I'm not perfect. I have a lot of room to improve. I am on a growth journey, and I know that my life is going to continue to evolve and get better and better and better. But deep down, yeah, I have complete love for myself. And it all started. This is the beginning to this whole journey for me, and it's the beginning of how I work with my clients. It's what I want to teach you today. It's what I want to talk to you about mainly, and it's about learning to listen to yourself. It's about going deep inside you, and it's about excavating your feelings. It's about listening to yourself. I don't know any better way to do this than writing, whether it be journaling, whether it be getting out a computer, a Google Doc, and just typing away and letting yourself explore what is going on inside you. I believe that each and every one of us inherently has so much wisdom inside us. That's what I work with people on. It's really my framework is all about getting to know yourself and learning what you want for your life and learning what stands in the way of that. It's childhood trauma, it's limiting beliefs, it's things we picked up along the way. It's the I'm too old, or I'm not smart enough, or I don't have enough money. Those things like never go away. We are always met with these limiting beliefs. We are always, as we are on our growth journey, we are even more prone than ever to what I call imposter syndrome. And I've learned that it's just so natural. Anyone who is trying to change their lives and trying to go after new things and do things they've never done before, they feel like an imposter because they don't know how to do it. None of us know how to do things we've never done before. We have the opportunity to use our experiences from our past. We have opportunities to learn from peers, but it still is a first-time experience for us all. And we need to get to understand ourselves and to get to know like what we want for our lives and what stands in the way of that and what our real limitations are. I use this example a lot. Like, I do believe that most of us could be billionaires. I mean, I know money's not like the goal of all of ours, but I'm just using that as kind of a metaphor right here. We could all be billionaires if we wanted to, I think, but it does take a lot of sacrifice. It takes a lot of sacrificing of sleep, of health, of well-being, of authentic relationships with people. And I don't want to do that. I've gotten to know myself and I've gotten to really acknowledge like like money is not my biggest priority because I care about so many other things. Guess how I learned that? I learned it from going deep inside myself, from excavating the reality that lives inside me of what I wanted for my life. The problem when we don't love ourselves, when we don't trust ourselves, is that we're not able to look at this information inside of us as reliable. We're not able to trust that the signals that our body, that our mind, that our hearts are telling us is true. It is so important. I mean, so many people I work with are like, I don't like journaling. And I totally respect that. It's really important for me to never tell somebody the exact modality they need to use, but you need to get to know yourself. You need to get to know what's inside you. You need to, whether it be talking into a mirror, whether it be in the car talking to yourself, going out for a walk and talking to yourself. I think a lot of us are afraid to put something down on paper because somebody might find it. That's okay. Write it down, tear it, burn it, whatever. Get these thoughts out of you. Realize what's going on, what you want, what your dreams are. Then we need to understand what's in the way. And that all comes from this excavation. Like, what is in the way? What is preventing me from loving myself enough to give myself what I want? Hey, I'm afraid to set boundaries. Or at work, like, hey, somebody gets promoted ahead of me and I really want to tell my boss that it upset me and it's not fair and it's actually really making me consider whether I want to be at this company. But I'm afraid to do that. I don't have the tools to do that. Last time I did that, I got yelled at. Well, those are all naming what's in the way. Or my partner, hey, like, he's always playing loud music while I'm trying to sleep, whatever it might be. Realizing like, you're afraid to do these things, and fear isn't bad. I mean, there's a reason. I think fear is, once we recognize that fear, it's beautiful because it tells us what we need to work with. It tells us what's in the way. What is in the way? Fear, lack of belief. I think I'm too old. I think I'm too stupid. I think that I am lacking these skills. I'm too short. Once we learn what is standing in the way of us achieving those goals, that's where the magic is. That is where we work. That is what to do. That is how we know what to do with ourselves. For me, by really realizing what's in the way, I learned that this childhood trauma that I'd had really kept me from being able to advocate for myself, being able to go after the career, the professional life that I wanted to, getting me clear that I actually wanted to be a father, but I was afraid to. This is all the process of this excavation, and just these answers are all within us. I realized the reason that I didn't love myself was because of what happened in childhood. And I just had lived my entire life thinking something was wrong with me, thinking I was broken. I was told something was wrong with me my entire life. I thought I was broken because most people I met were repulsed by me, whatever it was. Like, I mean, probably looking back, it was just my confidence, and I was a weird person probably because I never really had a lot of practice in engaging with other people. So, of course, like, I was, you know, weird for people to be around. But when we get to know ourselves and we start working through these problems, and for me, I mean, I remember talking to a lot of friends about this. I read a lot of books. I went to therapy to several different therapists. I got coaches. I started working in yoga teacher training, and we were meeting every Saturday and Sunday for 8 hours for several weeks and like talking in a community about these things. And I started to learn that like what was going on inside me was normal, that I'm human. These fears, these limitations, these dreams that I'm not going after, these this fear to this fear to really even dream in general. It was all normal. It was all things that other people were also feeling. And it was a process, but when I learned that I could love myself, when I learned that I was worthy of love, when I learned that nothing was wrong with me, when I, by doing that, it stabilized me. It gave me the foundation that I needed to be able to create the life that I wanted to, the life that I was afraid to always, but the life that I'm going after now. The self-love component, the self-love part of our lives is devastating if it doesn't exist. If we don't love ourselves, our lives are never going to be fully abundant. They're never going to be aligned. They're never going to be fulfilling because we don't inherently think we deserve to have that. By working through my childhood trauma, by getting help just by talking to people who had been through what I'd been through, people who had created businesses, who I didn't grow up around a lot of affluence. I mean, I didn't grow up really around any affluence. Just being around people who were in some way, shape, or form where I wanted to be, everything in my life changed. This childhood trauma thing it's not that unique. I am trying to think in my head right now how many of the people I've gone to for mentorship, how many of them hadn't already worked through some version of their childhood trauma. I mean, they all did. And it all goes back to getting to know our story, getting to be honest about what we remember about our lives, the stories that we had been told, the stories that we had learned to believe. It's engaging in this discussion, this exploration, and having someone help poke holes in our belief system that a lot of times isn't true. I mean, think about it. How many times like do we meet somebody and they respond aversely, they decline an invitation, they ignore us, whatever? How many times do we think that we did something wrong or that that's about us? You know deep down, most rejection, most of the time that somebody hurts us, it has nothing to do with us at all. The same thing is true for every belief. There are so many beliefs that we tell ourselves, so many things that we tell ourselves because we have to tell ourselves stories. We make up stories. We need to make sense of things. And by working with professionals, with guides, with mentors, our lives change immensely because we can't read the label from inside the jar. I don't think that any of us ever get to a place where we are too evolved or we have grown enough and don't need any mentorship. I think actually the opposite is true. The more that we learn, the more that we grow, the more we realize we don't know, the more we realize how much left there is to learn, how many things there are that are still holding us back, how many beliefs we have that are holding us back. And it's a process of becoming vulnerable by going through this journey, by getting that help. We start to admit things about our lives. We start to admit like we don't know certain things. And that's when my life has become the most abundant, is by learning how to be vulnerable and just talking about my feelings. And I want the same for you. Love doesn't mean that we never struggle. It doesn't mean that we look in the mirror and we always love what we see. It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that we have the perfect relationships with ourselves. But what it means is that deep down, we've learned that we're worthy of love. And that's what I'm really trying to talk about today. This conversation that I'm having with you right now, it's really because I want you to see that if you are lacking confidence, if you are struggling with belief in yourself, if you're self-flagellating, if you're not living a life that feels really good most of the time, I want you to consider how much you love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, there's a journey that we go on, and it starts with really getting to know yourself and understanding why you don't love yourself. And it's great to work with professionals on this. It also could be done if you start writing, if you start thinking, if you start being willing to go deep within and feeling these feelings like I have. This journey through admitting my feelings has changed everything about my life. Before 8-9 years ago, I would have literally bet $1 million that I wouldn't live to see my 40th birthday. I'm 41 years old. I am starting a family with David. We just met our donor, the egg donor, a week and a half ago. And in 2025, we're going to be parents. I never thought this would be possible for me because deep down, I didn't love myself. I didn't think that I was worthy of this. Anything becomes possible when we start to love ourselves. I'm going to leave you there today. I just want to invite you that if you are struggling, if you are living a life that is not feeling incredibly fulfilling, I invite you to start inquiring within. I call this journey one of introspection, getting to understand ourselves, our feelings, and it has saved my life. I have learned that I think so many of us are afraid to say like, my parents didn't do their best or my parents hurt me. It's not mutually exclusive. Your parents could have done their best and they could have hurt you. It's okay to admit that. It strengthens the bond when we admit that. We get to talk about it. I've been talking a lot over these past couple of episodes about boundary setting and about just really like, when we do this, when we start to mature in our way of engaging, when we start to approach things differently and more honestly and authentically, we're teaching others around us to do the same. I can't tell you how many people in my orbit have grown because I've grown. And it's scary. We think that we're going to alienate somebody when we change the rules of engagement. I really can't think of any relationship that was worth keeping where our bond hasn't grown stronger from me learning to express my feelings. If you have any questions or comments, or if anything here spoke with you today, I'm a transformative high-performance growth coach. I work with high-performing people who feel like something is missing in their lives. They've done everything right. You've checked all the boxes, but something inside, it's still not aligned. Reach out to me. You can schedule a free breakthrough call. We will have a free coaching session where you will leave with a profound level of clarity on where you're at in life and what's holding you back and what direction you need to be working towards. I thank you so much. Please reach out to me if you have any questions or comments, and thank you for being on this journey with me.